Exron Music. We have Christopher Coe with us live at Ultra Music Festival 2025. First of all, thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited. Let's just jump right into it.
Sure.
So, today you opened the Resistance stage at Ultra Music Festival in Miami alongside Carl Cox. What was it like performing for one of the largest music festivals in the world?
Oh, just easy. It's a doddle. We're so used to it now.
Yeah?
You know, it's great. I mean, with Carl, of course, we've done a lot of shows over the years, but it's always really special to come to Ultra and particularly to open the Resistance stage together because we're playing live back to back and purely live. We're not. There's no pre-records. It's only making it up as we go along and totally improvised. It's a really great way to open the stage, um, which for the rest of the day is also live artists, which is an unusual thing for Ultra and Resistance as well, because usually it's DJs all the way through. So Carl is very much an advocate of live these days. As you know, we have a label called Awesome Soundwave, which is also purely for live electronic artists. So it's kind of like us putting our foot in the sand, making a statement and going, right, this is a live stage for today, and we're starting it. And so, yes, it was great.
That's really awesome. You actually beat me to my next question, which was, the legendary Carl Cox, you shared to your socials that you were excited to play Ultra Miami in 2025, and in this post you did note that artists are playing live at the Resistance stage thanks to Carl. So when you say that artists aren't necessarily playing live, could you elaborate on that? What's different between your process versus like a normal artist at Ultra?
Right. Well, a live artist, a live electronic artist, as opposed to a DJ. I mean, the very basic difference is that most live electronic artists are playing entirely their own music to start with. A DJ is playing, a lot of other people's music and mixing them
Got it.
together. So the live artist, that's the number one difference. The number two difference is that they're usually playing with hardware, drum machines, 303s, other electronic instruments to actually create music on the fly in the moment. So it's about
Wow.
creating unknown pieces of music that no one's ever heard before because it's happening right there at the moment. Whereas, of course, with a DJ, of course, they can mix and it takes a lot of skill, but essentially they're playing pre-arranged, pre-recorded music tracks and mixing them together. So it's a difference. I mean,
It's a
there's
big
not one is
difference.
better than the other. They're both amazing, but the live artist we focus on is really the one who creates their own music on the fly. And
Got
of
it.
course, we record stuff and make tracks like everybody else and release them like everybody else. But when we play, it's not DJing, it's live. So, of course, the DJ is live in that they're standing there as a real life person mixing. And so are we, but we're actually making the music in real life right at that moment.
Got it. That is amazing. I actually
Yeah.
did not know that, so that is so cool. You and the legendary Carl Cox have a really strong working relationship. So, how did you meet Carl, and how did your relationships as peers and collaborators really develop?
Oh, Carl and I've known each other for as long as, I don't know, since the dawn of time. I used to make records and release them through a label called Projects back in the day when we were actually releasing vinyl. Do you know what vinyl is?
Of course,
A
yes.
lot of people don't
Yes.
nowadays, but we released that back in the early 90s. And Carl used to
Wow,
play
okay.
my records. And so we just met at the parties. I met him at a club one time in London, and he's like, "Oh my God, you're Digital Primate. I play your records." I'm like, "Oh my God, you're Carl Cox, way more famous than I am." And we made friends. And over the years, we had lots of mutual friends in the scene, and we just sort of we just built a friendship. Like we'd see each other at a party or on tour somewhere. We'd always hang out, go for dinner, and we just built a friendship over 30 years. And in the last sort of 8 years or so, Carl asked me to come on board and work with him in the studio. We both live in Australia, and so I built a studio for him. We decided to start the label, Awesome Soundwave. We decided to start producing stuff. And over the years, as we sort of grew in that sort of collaboration, it just became a much stronger, kind of all-encompassing partnership, and you know, I also work for him on his live shows. I help him to develop his live shows and kind of creatively direct the overall show, which he sort of trusts me with. I'm like, I'm amazed. Don't tell him. No, but yeah, it's a strong partnership where, you know, we've worked for quite a few years together.
Wow, that's amazing and extremely impressive. I know that you recently played Ultra Australia with Carl Cox. How was that experience?
That was great. That was last year, and then we did the same thing actually. We did that back to back sort of live thing.
Yes.
Yeah. So we did open the stage, just him and I jamming, having a gin and tonic, and making techno. So actually, what we're really doing is just transferring what we do in the studio when we're jamming, bringing our gear out onto the stage and doing the same thing. We're just making it up as we go along, and
awesome.
you know, yeah,
and creating.
yeah, it's fun. It's about having fun and showing people that it can be fun to just jam it out. Yeah, very much free form.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How did you get your start in the music industry, and how did growing up in Melbourne influence you as an artist?
Well, I started in the industry a long time ago. I don't even remember, to be honest. I think that was, no, I don't even remember. But I really started focusing on electronic music in 1994 when I released my first album, and then from then started releasing records with a UK label called Projects in the late 90s. I don't know, just been playing at parties and DJing around Melbourne and in Ireland.
Kind of innate or intuitive?
Yeah, just sort of
seamlessly.
I don't even remember, to be honest. I mean, like I said before, if I remembered, I probably wasn't there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's how it's meant to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Your current genre is techno. So who or what introduced you to the sound, and what about techno specifically is so captivating?
Well, Carl very much introduced me to the sound. There are many other artists. Surgeon from the UK, an amazing techno artist. Dave Clark, another amazing techno artist. I could just go on. I could name so many over the years that I've been so inspired by. But Carl very much stands above in terms of great inspiration. But techno as a sound, it's a mindset. It really is about actually finding new sonic expression through electronic experimentation. Kraftwerk, they were my greatest inspiration as a kid. They're a German electronic band. Jean-Michel Jarre, another great electronic producer. Daft Punk, all these electronic artists that have come through the years have been exploring the language of electronic music. And I think that real techno, I mean, of course, Jeff Mills and all the boys from Detroit, they've always been exploring with, finding ways to express emotion without words and without necessarily conventional melodic structures or harmonic structures. Because I think emotions aren't necessarily restricted to words and harmony. I think emotions go outside of that. I think techno is one of the greatest genres for actually being able to express the inexpressible. And for me, that is what's really exciting about techno, because it's never ending, and and I think making it live is actually a very much the epitome of real techno. I mean, there's a lot of people go, oh, this is not techno, and this is techno, and that's not real techno. I think techno is anything that is experimenting with electronic music and creating something that moves you. We could talk about Stockhausen. We could talk about all these great electronic composers from the past. Pierre Boulez, the music concrete movement. There's so much stuff out there that is, I would call techno. Some people wouldn't. So I think techno is very hard to define, but I think what defines it is the way that we can express something that's inexpressible through electronic exploration.
Wow, okay. That was extremely poetic. I could tell that you're extremely passionate about
this. I really believe it.
But, who or what are some of your greatest musical inspirations? You've spoken about Carl Cox, but some other things?
Well, of course, yeah. Kraftwerk were an amazing band who've been around since the 70s. all of those electronic artists I just mentioned. Surgeon is one of my all-time favorites. He's a great electronic techno producer from Birmingham. Been around a long time. When I first got into techno, his record was the first record I bought back in '91 or two. I don't know how old I am, but anyway. So there's been many, of course, many over the years that have come and go. I mean, there's right now there are so many that I really love, but Recondite is another great artist that I really love. Uh, I don't know. I've worked a lot with Rainier Zonnefeld. I think he's a truly inspiring artist electronically. Um, I don't know. You could just go on. I mean, then you talk about the headliner Charlotte DeWitt. She's an amazing DJ. I love her too. I think she's great. But it just there's a whole span of amazing people, and actually everyone who's passionate about it, regardless of the genre, is somebody that I find inspiring.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We saw Charlotte do it last night, and she was amazing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a great girl.
Who are some of the artists in the industry that you love collaborating with? Again, you've spoken about Carl Cox, but is there another person that you primarily collaborate with?
Oh yes, well Rainier Zonnefeld is one. We've done a lot of tracks together. He's great. Mark Romboy is a great artist. He's just played on the Resistance stage. We collaborate. In fact, just yesterday we had lunch and we're planning to create a nice collaboration with him and Robert Babbage, another great electronic artist. We've also done a really good collaboration with a French artist called Waracles, who is an electronic artist but also uses an orchestra on stage.
Okay.
Really amazing music. That's an interesting collaboration that we're working on. Yeah, I love that. But I'm also really interested in collaborating with people that are not necessarily in the techno world. There's an R&B vocalist in London who I've made a track with, and she sent me a vocal that sounds like Susie and the Banshees. So we made a techno track with a vocal that sounds like Susie and the Banshees, made by an R&B artist. And I really like the weird juxtaposition of that. Her name is Kia. Watch out for her, actually.
I actually love that in art too, particularly fashion, like juxtaposing, high quality with or highbrow with lowbrow. So it's really interesting that you do something similar in music.
Absolutely.
Can you talk about how you came to co-found your label, Awesome Soundwave?
Yeah, well, actually, that was Carl's idea. He just threw me in the deep end. He said, "Right, you play live. This is awesome. That album you've got is amazing. I want to put it out." And I was like, "Wow, Carl, but I can't put it on. You can't put it on Intech because it's not really techno. It's not really dance floor techno. It's very expressive. It's quite an ambient album." He said, "No, no, no. We're going to start a label, and you're going to run it." Great.
Well, that's kind of incredible. That's really
I was
amazing.
blown away. I love the fact that he had so much trust, and he was so confident in me, which gave me the impetus to actually go, okay, fuck it, I can do that then.
Absolutely.
So we started a label in 2018, and it's been how long now? We've released so many great records from amazing artists, some unknown, some known. Carl and I, Mark Romboy again, Charlie Thorstensen, Stimming, another great artist. Again, another great artist I'd love to collaborate with. I mean, so many great records on that label. Only live artists.
That is so interesting, that distinction, because you hear that artists don't necessarily play live, but the way that you describe it, there's so much more to it than just not playing a pre-recorded track. Like there's so much more to actually playing live.
Yeah, there is. And it's such a pain in the ass to carry the gear and have to set it up every time. That's also a little bit challenging at times, but it's amazing because once you get it there and you've got it on stage, you're creating a sound that no one's heard before.
Yeah, well, we're big fans of Carl, and we're big fans of his whole movement of his type of sound. We think that there's a clear distinction when an artist plays live. I didn't realize that there were so many components to it, but we can recognize as listeners and as patrons how incredible the sound is. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
It was wonderful talking to you, and we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Thanks so much.